have learned that like my clothes and the way I choose to wear things and the spaces that I wear things in are acts of resistance. So it's not just about like looking cute or looking fly. It's about like looking disruptive, looking curious. Started without intent. Like if I'm being very honest. And I was like, I can't be the only one that's mad about this. Like let me just start talking about stuff. And I found out like people are mad with me. This little boy looked at me and he was like, I'm gonna die. Like he knew. Some of these young people, they really know like when it's coming for them, like when death is literally on their backs. And if anybody thinks that an exam is what makes somebody ethical and competent, they have not met some of these people who have passed the exam. Because there are a lot of people out here who have passed these exams and they are trash. Like you don't have liberation without imagination. What happened if we just imagine new ones and create those? Like we don't have to make these work.
Welcome to Making Progress, a podcast where we discuss and discover what it means to find success in the journey of making change. I'm your host, Myra, René. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Kim Young to the Making Progress podcast. Kim is a nationally recognized expert troublemaker, social worker, and a licensed therapist with 17 years of experience providing direct clinical services to at-promise youth and families affected by community violence. She now works upstream, promoting community-driven solutions to system-created problems through cross-sector collaboration. As the founder of Dope Black Social Worker, host of revolutionary Hoodrat podcast, and an Essence magazine essential hero, Kim embodies what this podcast is all about: real people doing real things and making real progress. So good to see you, Kim.
Yes.
So excited. And it's been a long time, about a year since we've seen each other. Mm-hmm. And we had you at our conference. And I think that's like the first time I met you in person. Came all the way to Madison, Wisconsin. I know that was a whole new experience for you.
We had a time.
We did have a time. We had some funny experiences. Yes. We had a white woman trying to touch people's hair.
Listen. I said, is this my welcome to the Midwest? What is happening?
Yes. The whole experience of just even hearing you get on the airplane. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, that was when it was very apparent, like where I was headed, where I was leaving and where I was headed to, right? Because like my layover was in Atlanta, and we know Atlanta is anything but just very, very white. Right. I get on the plane and I'm like, oh, like everybody on this plane is not me. So it was like, it was certainly an experience. This is my first time coming to the Midwest as somebody from the West Coast that also lives in the South. But y'all certainly made it incredibly welcoming, but then also was like, yeah, we be on that type of time, and like we're not really like that. You know what I mean? So like it was a nice little balance.
Yes. Well, we had a good time. And you've created this brand, Dope Black Social Worker. What's like, how did that start? Tell me a little bit about like how that started, the origin of that.
I mean, it started without intent. Like, if I'm being very honest, people for reasons, some known to me and like not known to me, think I did these things intentionally, but much of it, not at all. Like I kind of fell into it the same way I fell into the field of social work. So with Dope Black Social Worker, it really grew at a time when I was struggling with a professional identity crisis, really believing like, am I even supposed to be here? Do I belong in this field? Because much of what we're taught, like in our training in graduate school and even in our field placements, and once we get out into the work, it's not reflective of like cultural experiences of Black people, nor do they really highlight the importance of Black people in the field of social work. And so for me, it was like a declaration of redefining and reclaiming what social work meant to me, because what I was taught wasn't fitting with what I was experiencing and a lot of the harm and the trauma that comes along with doing this work. And so I just got mad. And I was like, I can't be the only one that's mad about this. Like, let me just start talking about stuff. And I found out like people are mad with me. Yes. So now here we are.
Yes. And you're creating, so we could talk about it later too, like some of the advocacy work that is coming out of just probably that same emotion of just being mad, and, you know, that kind of, you know, spurs change. And there's some advocacy work that you're doing now. We could talk about that later too. Yeah. But I saw even on your Instagram, you showed kind of like this younger picture of yourself. And, you talk about when you're 14 years old, kind of recognizing injustice around that time when you were 14.
Yeah.
Talk about young 14-year-old Kim.
Listen, she had a lot of rage, but like I wasn't angry, which was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I think what happened for me is early on, like even before 14, I got access to just like information and adults, not just Black adults either, but like adults who nurtured my curiosity around like my Black identity. And like they would give me resources, they would give me access to new spaces. And this is like as a Black kid growing up in San Diego. And for some reason, a lot of people don't think like Black people live in San Diego. Nah, we out there. And so
we
like,
everywhere. We're in Wisconsin.
Everywhere. We're everywhere. And so I had the opportunity to really shape like a really solid Black racial identity, which then allowed me to like not just operate in anger, but operate in purpose with my rage at 14. And it was just really cool to see the ways in which I was supported to do that. I would just get upset. I remember like being on the playground in preschool and being mad because like somebody had pushed Christopher. I was like, Christopher didn't do nothing to nobody. And it's a white boy. I was like, no, we got to stand up for Christopher. Like, I don't like when people just get treated that way. And so like, I've just been that kid, but I'm blessed that adults didn't, I didn't get policed for being that kid. I got supported for being that kid.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And talk about kind of, you talk a lot, even like when you're in Madison, about the differences of being a social worker and another type of like mental health professional, like a therapist. Like what to you, how would you, I love the way you kind of frame that work. And, I am a marriage and family therapist and we really see ourselves as systems therapists because we really look at like this family system and then the system that families are in. How would you kind of define social work? Because I really like the way you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same families. That's the biggest thing I want people to understand when we think about these mental health disciplines. I'm talking about licensed and unlicensed. Like, we're all in the same family. However, our birth order is just different. And if you just apply birth order theories to like our profession, you'll start to see it. And it doesn't make one profession less important than the other. It just makes us different and our function and purpose is different. And so when I think about the field of social work, in many ways, like we're the middle child in this game, right? You got psychology and psychiatry are your firstborns. And a lot of you see how they impose their practices and beliefs on both of us, right? Like as disciplines. Yes. Then you have like your counseling professions. I see them as, the youngest child in the birth order. And so if you just think about the middle child often plays this role of like mediating, going between both worlds. And so for me, social work has never fully been about doing therapy. And I think people misunderstand our function. We're really one of those disciplines that operate in the gaps on both sides and with every system. I think that's what's really cool and overwhelming. And I think what keeps us divided is because we touch every system, if it's healthcare, if it's schools, if it's jails, whatever it might be. We are everywhere that can be found. But we really walk along people through their moments of, their lowest moments, their highest moments. I think both of us, every discipline, we look evil in the eyes, like we know what it looks like. But the way I like to talk about it when I hang out with my counseling friends, they love to go into detail and they want to hear the whole story. As a social worker, are you hungry now? Like, do you need something right now? I'm not really trying to hear the entire story. Like, what do we need to get done right now? And then we can focus on like what comes after right now. So I just find a lot of people who end up in social work are like, that's cool, but like, what are we doing right now? Like to change systems, to change functioning, whatever that might be.
And that's what I hear, like when you tell the story of 14-year-old Kim, standing up for, someone on the playground or someone who's not being treated right. To me, it's like that was already in you to kind of do this work. Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what social work was. I had already went through undergrad and everything and started working before I learned about like social work as a discipline where you can like go make some money to do this stuff. I had never heard of it that way. But I've always known the work, right? Because I went to school in the Bay Area, so I had the privilege of being around like some folks heavily influenced by the Black Panther Party, just Black liberation movements, and like that's social work. I had always been connected to the work. I just didn't know like the official title this way in this world of like social work. I always knew what the work was.
I love that. And I love just the way you framed the Black Panthers. That is social work. I mean, it was like taking care, like the breakfasts, the reading, the after school care, the care for just community, like whatever that need was. That's social work.
It is. They're setting up the healthcare clinics, doing the transport.
Yeah.
And they would transport families out to prisons and jails to, visit with their folks and loved ones behind bars. And what's really cool is a lot of those foundational Black Panther members of like the 60s and 70s, specifically like the women, they went on to like go get their MSWs in the late 70s and 80s. And we don't tell that story enough of like how many Black women that were in the Black Panther Party then moved into like the discipline of social work and like continued at that level.
And that's really interesting because I did not hear about that. And what's interesting to me when I hear that is, if you were already doing that, I wonder what school even taught them.
I know. Like, probably gotta play the game.
Were they in there teaching the class?
Yeah. That's
because,
for real. Yeah.
Like they were doing that thing.
They're already doing it.
I don't know what a textbook would tell you.
Yeah,
I guess enough
the game.
Just enough to the game to pass the exam.
That's it, the game. Like, how do you actually learn their game to match you with your game to then get what you want for your people?
But that's what we have been doing as Black people and our ancestors naturally for one another.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in us to have that community care.
It's in us. It's in us. And that's why we have to reclaim these helping professions because the way they're set up, they make it all about the individual. But like as Black, brown, and indigenous folk, we don't live individually. We know for sure we live collectively. But our training, right? Like it doesn't focus on the collective healing components, the importance of community. And then even like identifying what the problem is, the identified problem always is like an individual, a kid, a parent, like whomever. But like it doesn't focus on the collective, which is who we are as people.
Yeah, I love that. And that's like one of my favorite quotes is from Bell Hooks about how we don't heal in isolation. We heal in community. And it's so true. I think for a lot of clients I've seen, I've always thought like if they just had community, I don't think they would really, like healthy community too, on top of that. Like, I don't think they'd really be in my office.
No, a lot of people wouldn't, which is why I don't believe that everybody needs therapy. You can miss me with that.
Yeah. That's so true.
A lot of people wouldn't be in anyone's office if they had community and some money and a place to live. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Come on now. That's so true. So true. Okay, so you talked about 3 key lessons that you are only an expert in your own life, build bridges between generations, and never make a job your identity. How did you come up with these insights? And tell me a little bit more about them.
Yeah, I had to learn them. Because I was the Black kid in like elementary, middle, and high school, and people were like, "Oh, that one! Like, go get that one to be in this program. Go get that one to like do this thing." And so just being like overperforming, working harder than necessary, but then also carrying the weight and the burden of being a first generation, all the things, you name it, like I'm a first generation, all the things. And so when you're kind of functioning in that, and that's been your core identity, is to like do and perform and to, be ambitious and achieve. When you start to accumulate those things, you begin to recognize, I don't even want this. Like these were never my dreams. These were never my goals. But then also you forget the importance of like living. And so when I just have an opportunity to share that with folks that are earlier on in their careers or just kind of at this pivot place of, most importantly, you're going to need to build some bridges. You can't do this alone. And that really goes out to young people. And I still consider myself to be on the spectrum of young, even though people of my generation love to think we old. And I'm like, no.
No. No, nowhere near it.
What are you talking about? You're not.
I so agree. I agree.
I'm 45 and like, no.
Right. We are not the Golden Girls.
You're
like
not.
this is a different era.
It's different. There's still so much for us to learn and unlearn. And what we can't do is like do that without like intergenerational relationships. You need folks older than you. You need folks younger than you.
Yes.
And you got to build bridges between. And so I just kind of seen generations divide themselves, but I know that I did not get here without having intergenerational relationships, like without being the youngest person in my office, and my best friend at work is like 60 years old.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, those things are just important for our personal growth, because then they're also the ones that pass on the wisdom. I'm like, girl, you can't make this your job. I still think about my mentors, those, back in the day. Yeah, it's a little bit of trauma rooted in it, but they told me if you can't pack your office up in 5 minutes, you're doing something wrong. I said, what you mean?
What did they mean by that?
Well, they're
5 minutes?
Yeah, well, they're government employees, so that's one thing, right? They're kind of used to the like world always shifting.
If people had that now.
yeah, and for real. And I think the deeper lesson was don't get attached to this place. Because this place, you can do your work anywhere, right? You can live your mission out anywhere. You don't need to do it at a place that may not be serving you. So don't come in here and move in to your office to the point where you think like this is the only place you could do this.
Wow.
And so, it's just important. Those things are how I've got to where I am and where I'm gonna keep going.
How do we not make as like mental and not, I guess like this is other professions too, because I was thinking about this, like, yes, mental health professionals, how do we not make our jobs our identity? But I think a lot of jobs, like you kind of have to act like some kind of way because you're in a certain profession or career, even when you're not working, right? And how do we unpack that and not make that our identity? Because we spend so much time at work, like 40 hours of our week. Like if you work full time, it's anywhere from 30 to 40. That is when you think about the whole, it's ghetto. It is so ghetto, isn't it? It's ghetto. So how do we flip that switch then? Because we're spending more time in our career and our professions and being this certain thing that we worked really hard to get to. How do we not make that our identity?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's important. People got to know who they are before they get into the work. Even if it's not before, figure out who you are as early as possible. And who you are can't be connected to the job or a title or a license or whatever. Like you really have to know who you are. And then the second thing that I would suggest, I've done this for myself and continue to do it, is recognize that the things that I am, if it's generous, kind, fierce, advocate, whatever it might be, none of that belongs to social work or belongs to a job. It belongs to me, which means I can take it wherever I go. Right.
Yes.
So I think a lot of us, we think like, oh, the reason I'm compassionate and the reason I care is because I'm a therapist. Nah, you were compassionate and you cared before you were a therapist.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so like you have to understand that like you've had all this good stuff in you before you got these professional identities and titles and licenses and jobs and stuff. And you can't let those places take it from you. A lot of people let jobs take their good stuff from them. And it's just wild to me.
Yes. Do you ever experience this? And I'm sure you have, like when you tell people what you do or they ask what you do. And do you just dread the questions sometimes? Because I do.
Yeah.
Because
I don't even get questions. Tell me what kind of questions you get. I don't get questions.
Well, I get, people will be like, well, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh God, like the minute I say,
I know,
I work in mental health, then if they're not talking about their own mental health, then they're talking about,
Here
Johnny,
comes the projection.
whoever else in their family got mental health issues and or they don't want to talk to you because they're like, oh, don't psychoanalyze me.
Trust me, it's the last thing I want to do.
Right? It's like, I am not working right now, sir.
Last thing I want to do. I get the, like, when I tell people like, oh, what do you do? I pick and choose my answer. Depends on how I'm feeling, if I'm trying to mess with somebody. But if I tell people like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a social worker. I often get oh my God. Oh, I could never. Oh, we need more people like you. I'm just like, bro, like, it's not that noble of a profession. Like, we be out here doing some wild stuff too. Like, so yeah, I don't even get a lot of questions. I get people who just get sad. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But
do you get rest? Do you get sleep?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish they would ask me that.
Oh my goodness. So you were in Essence magazine as an essential hero and named several prestigious lists. What realities about your day-to-day work do those recognitions not capture?
Probably like just the normal. I'm incredibly normal. People who do this work, we're just regular people. We just know different stuff. You know what I mean? And so, like, even when those opportunities come in my direction, and like, I ain't even gonna hold you, I don't even know who be nominating me half the time for this stuff. It just be showing up. I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I don't even I'm getting better at it. Like, I never really paid too much attention to any impact. I'm just out here doing what I've been doing, and it's cool when when it gets recognized, but not because I want to be recognized, but because I want people who look like me to see that it's possible, but also be recognized too, like for our work to be recognized. But I think what it doesn't capture is just how human and normal we are.
Have you had a case or a situation that kind of shook you, either dealing with the system or a certain family that I've only had it actually just one out of this whole time since 2012 that I kind of took home with me a case. Have you ever had that happen?
Sure. Yeah, my whole career went upside down in 2018. That's when like all this stuff happened. That's when the dope black social worker stuff began to get birthed, like in late 2019. In 2018, I had 3 young people die. Like 2 from gun violence and 1 was fatally struck by a car when they were leaving home for work. And like, this was a job when I was a clinician in the court program with young people. And that was also a time in my city of Richmond, Virginia, when we were experiencing an increased amount of like youth homicide. Like that, the year before we had lost like 62 youth, if I'm not mistaken. And that's like somebody under the age of 25, to gun violence. And so that was the year, like 2018, when that happened to me, when I was like, yo, that's when I had to recognize there was nothing that I could have done to prevent any of those deaths. But, you carry that with you. Like, if I just would have answered that email, if I just would have showed up and did that. But then when you start to really reflect on it, and I think about one of the young persons in particular who was killed, when I tell you we did everything from relocating him and his family like 2 hours outside of the city to like working on weekends, me packing them up in a U-Haul van, me in the car, like did everything, still got shot. Right. Still died.
Isn't that something? That's really so I'm from Minnesota. I think I told you that before. And it's a little city in Minnesota that I'm from. And I remember growing up, there was a lot of families that would come from Chicago to get away from gun violence. Yeah. And about 2 or 3 of those families I know, their kids were shot and murdered in this small town. And you're just like, it's very interesting, because their families did everything possible. The moms moved out of these very like high violent areas in Chicago. And then just to see like it just in this little town, like you would just would not think that.
But then I still remember this same kid and even other kids sitting in my office. And, I'm not a toxic positivity type social worker. I'm just not. I'm very real. This little boy looked at me and he was like, I'm going to die. Like he knew You know what I mean? Like, and so that was a lesson. It was hard. I couldn't receive it at the time, but like, 8 years removed from the situation, I completely understand. Like the importance of acceptance, even when we don't want to hear what somebody has accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like in situations like that, when you're kind of deep in a world that way, some of these young people, they really know like when it's coming for them, like when death is literally on their backs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a wild experience for sure. And that shifted the way I approach this work. It shifted what I care the most about in this work. But I also made it so that I don't carry things because I just can't.
Yeah.
I got my own stuff. I can't be carrying other folks' stuff too.
No. It could be a burden, just on your whole soul and your spirit when you have those certain cases that just kind of stick with you, and I feel like I've been pretty good about separating myself from that. But there was I think for me, there was just one case where this kiddo was going to be taken from the home and the TPRs are really, it's tricky, and the termination of parental rights.
Oh, okay.
And, that's what we refer to them here in Wisconsin. And, our system is so all or nothing. And I just don't think it does anyone justice. Yeah. And, that just kept me up. Just this one particular case, because sometimes there's just situations where, maybe it's not the best placement, but to be totally terminated and no communication with the parent. Yeah.
To be kidnapped by a system. I just call it what it is.
It's cruel. Yeah. It's cruel, know. So that just, and then, I have kids. And so I was going home. I was going home to my kids. And, it's just, it's hard. It's hard work, especially when you have like reminders. And I would say too, I didn't necessarily like bring this home in the same kind of way, but I think sometimes hearing about so much trauma that has happened to kids, there was a time that I became very kind of like overbearing of my kids, I didn't want them going to the park by themselves because they were like, well, we're going to just go to the park right here. I was like, oh, no, you ain't. I was like, because there's stuff that happens at the park, okay? Yes. Yeah. And then my kids being just kind of like, okay, Mom, like, we don't know what you're talking about, but relax. But, you hear all these stories, and one, being human is just, it's, our lives are fragile, and bad things happen, right? And so how do you move in like kind of like a healthy way, knowing all of these tragedies all the time, right? And so I think like that self-care is really important, and checking in, and what do you do for self-care?
Yeah, listen, I will lay on my sofa, right? Y'all already know I watch me a Tubi movie. I'll be outside by myself or with other people. I play in dirt. Yes. But I think the most important thing that I can do for myself is control to the best of my ability how my thoughts impact how my mood. Because, there's bad things that happen in the world, but I choose to believe there's way more good in it than not.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it requires that I recondition my conditioning to look for the good. Or else, you will all be looking for all the bad stuff because it's so easy to find bad stuff. Unfortunately, it's much harder to look for the good, right? Because everything online feels like it's bad. TV feels like it's bad. You go outside, right? You just see a lot of evil, but there's way more good in this world than not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that reminds me of, and it's not like toxic, being like that toxic positivity kind of that you talked about, but real gratitude, right? Of just the noticing of like what is good and what I am grateful for. It is very powerful.
Yeah. When people can learn to accept that, like, you are good too.
Yes.
Right? Like, I am a good person. Good things happen to me. I am not void of experiencing pain, but suffering, I will do everything I can to prevent suffering from entering my life. But I am a good person. So good happens to me. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And, you know, one thing that I noticed about you that is also dope is your fashion.
Look, not today. Today is my off day, but we out here.
Listen, no, I think people can tell still. Talk to me a little bit about what inspires your fashion and your sense of like, even like your decor. I know you do like a lot of black and white patterns, which I do love too as well. Talk a little bit about that, because it's also not very traditional social work clothes either. And I'm so grateful for that.
But then it is at the same time. It's not traditional, because when you look at that Jane Addams and then you be like, what is this? But if you look at the Black Panther Party, they were styled down. Like, and so they always had on a fresh outfit. I have learned that like my clothes and the way I choose to wear things and the spaces that I wear things in are acts of resistance. And they're one of my greatest acts of resistance that I enjoy deeply. Right? Like, I get dressed thinking about how can I bring joy to myself and possibly to others, but then also like, how can I disrupt some spaces with an outfit? Right. So it's not just about like looking cute or looking fly. It's about like looking disruptive, looking curious, because like an outfit can spark a conversation. It can also change a mood. I have learned that when I was doing direct service work. Is that your outfit could absolutely change somebody's mood, and it can change the way they choose to engage with you. And so I just kind of picked that up early on. But ultimately, I just think about the legacy of like Black style and fashion throughout movements, throughout liberation movements. And like, style has always been a component of how we resist. And so I don't think we should ever give that up as a people. And we need to actually reclaim it, like take it back. Style is how we resist. And just put that stuff on and go outside, disrupt some stuff.
Yes. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, talk to me a little bit about how you became, so you're from San Diego, but then now you're East Coast.
Yeah. I'm out here.
Loving it?
It is different. I've been out here for so long that it definitely feels like the place I'm supposed to be right now. So I'm originally from San Diego, but my family has roots in Southern Louisiana. So like the New Orleans area. And I've been really fascinated by like Great Migration stuff lately, especially as somebody who is like, maybe like a first generation migrant, meaning like my mama left the South and went to California literally for a better life. So like I can have all these opportunities. And so growing up in San Diego, I just was really fortunate to not have white people be the center of my world, but everybody else. And like that part makes a difference. Like when you see other cultures expressing and taking up space, if that's like, you know, Samoans, if that's Filipinos, if that's Mexicans, whoever it might be, it makes room for like your culture to also take up space. And then like white people just happen to be there too. So when I moved to Richmond, Virginia, I really didn't have no context for it being the capital of the Confederacy, but baby, they let you know it through statues, through policy, and through visible segregation. And so I certainly went through a culture shock when I got out here. But then I've seen the city change over the last 10 plus years in terms of people are moving here. People who are from Richmond are now moving into other parts of the city. There's still a lot of segregation. There's still a lot of like, y'all are over there, we're over here. But what I really love about working in Richmond and being a part of the Richmond community are like the people. Like they made me into like this practitioner that I am today. Especially just Black focus and Black centered. It's a Black city through and through. And I know it's where I'm supposed to be right now doing this work.
I love it. Yeah. The statues, every time I go down south or anywhere in that area, kind of like not even deep south, but just like that southeast kind of area, mid south. I don't know how you would describe it. But
mid Atlantic. I'd be getting confused.
Okay, I know I get confused too, but that area always shocks me of like how preserved
they love it.
That they do love it. And there's tours around it. It's celebrated.
I love it.
It's 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 very, very interesting.
Yeah. I will say they took all the statues down in Richmond in 2020 after the George Floyd stuff, when all those acts of performance occurred. One of the acts of performance that occurred in Richmond were the removals of statues.
It was.
But not a redistribution of wealth and power, but the removal of statues. That's what we got here in Richmond.
It's a start. And sometimes I think, too, it's just how you tell and how you share about the history.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, remove it, but also, like, if it is there, let's say, like, this person killed this many people, indigenous people here in the U.S., enslaved these people, did, like, talk about the horrendous crimes and just to humanity that these folks did.
Yeah, that's totally
right?
True. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't want to forget that history, because that is history.
Yeah.
That part, not the celebration of it or honoring those people. But that is left out. And just, with what's happening now with the whole banning of books and banning of histories, and people can't talk about the history. It's
Myra, they hurting themselves more than anybody else, because guess who had to already educate their children in the home? Like, we already had oral history. We already were educating our children in the home. Right. Because we didn't, number one, they wouldn't let us come to y'all schools. That's the biggest one. Right. And then when we did come, you would teach us some foolishness. So we already have a practice of oral storytelling, of preserving history and sharing that. Yes. So when they start talking about, like, stripping stuff from schools, yes, there's going to be some impacts on Black, brown, and oppressed folks. But, like, if anybody already has a system in place, it's going to be us, because we've always had it. We can never rely on their system.
And I've heard a lot of people say, too, as Black folks, we've gone through everything that white people are going through now. Like, what they're experiencing with this administration, we're like, this is really not new to our community. We will be fine, because we've had to survive this and worse.
Yeah.
I hate that we have to be in any constant survival mode.
Correct.
It's frustrating.
Very much so.
But yes, we have gone through and we have survived.
We got a playbook.
We do.
And I get frustrated when I hear, like, Black folks, what are the Black folks doing? Y'all must not be tapped into y'all communities if you asking questions. If you waiting for somebody to come online and tell you what time the meeting is, you gonna be waiting. Like, you can't, like, trust me, like, Black folks have always been organizing and mobilizing and connecting and have community. It's who we are as a people. And if you waiting for, like, a digital space to give you access to that, you are going to be waiting.
And I really think, too, in some ways, we have adapted to this culture a little bit too much as a community of being individualistic. And I think, hopefully we get back to some of our roots and some of the, just the foundational parts of, like, who we are as a people when it comes to community. I think sometimes some really beautiful things can be birthed. I'm really excited to see what art and what beautiful spaces we create for ourselves in this time. Because, I do think, I don't know what it is, but I've seen anyways, at least I can only speak for myself, here in the Midwest, I definitely think Black people have become a little bit more adapted to the American culture and kind of are more in silos.
Yeah, I mean, whiteness is one hell of a drug. You know what I mean? To make you think, like, if I behave this way, dress this way, speak this way, they'll let me come, play in the sandbox with them. They will never, ever let any of us into their club. And so I just need more and more Black folks to awaken to that and to return back home to each other.
Yes, I love that. So your podcast, Revolutionary Hoodrat, love the name. Talk a little bit about what voices you have on that podcast. What do you discuss? Do you discuss a lot of being a social worker, or is it a little bit more broad on your podcast?
So it's both and. Revolutionary Hoodrat really started as an opportunity to capture the stories of Black and brown folks that find themselves into this field, to also be a tool for learning and unlearning for folks that are interested in social work, even by like trying to get into the field, or just like us and want to just know more. It's really a platform where I have the opportunity to do two things. One, just to rant, because sometimes I just be wanting to rant. And second, to be able to do storytelling. I love hearing stories of how Black folks specifically get into the field of social work, because it often is like not traditional to this like white people who get into the work. I have talked with a number of social workers across the country. When I ask them how they get into the field of social work, they typically have the same answer of like they had a connection because something happened in their household, their family, their community. Right. And then when I've talked, like what I've heard from white folks of why they get into social work, they want to help people. They want to like work in foster care.
True.
Or they want
that
to
is
like
actually,
be a therapist.
So
like I just want to help people. And I'm just like, okay.
I want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, like, but I haven't heard that from like the stories that I have been able to capture from Black folks. It's literally because like something happened to them. To someone they cared about, and they got mad about it and wanted to do something like about that thing that brought them into the field. So it's really cool to capture the story, but also like balance it with the humanity of people who are in the work, so that like people don't know it's so like people aren't just wrapped up in their professional identities. And then I love to be able to hear people think beyond social work. So I love that, one of my ending question is, we can't do this forever. It's like, what impact do you want to leave behind? Like, how do you want folks to talk about you when you leave the work? Because if your goal is to do this forever, you're not going to be able to do that. And how do we get folks to really think about their life beyond just being proximate to suffering? So yeah, we be having fun.
How do you want people to think of you in this profession after you leave?
I want people to think of me as someone who always thought about the people. Right, who always were like somebody who always thought about the people and understand that like none of this stuff was ever about me. And so I even like it could be something as simple as like, oh, when people say the dope Black social worker, absolutely not. I ain't no the. I'm one of many. You know what I mean? So like, I really just want people to know like everything about me has always been about the people, those who are pushed to the margins of society, the oppressed of all colors and dominions and dominations, not just Black folk, but like somebody who was always for the people.
I love that. That's how I think of you.
I'm doing my job.
You're doing it. You're doing it. You are doing it. So what are some initiatives you're working on right now?
Yeah, I mean, we still are working towards creating access to licensure, social work licensure across the country. That's a really big one for me as I think about my countdown to the field of social work, because I got about 5 years left, and I'm trying to get about the game by 2030. So one big thing that I'm really hoping that I could contribute to is in my state of Virginia is to increase pathways towards clinical licensure. As we know, licensure for y'all and for us is a barrier to access for Black and brown folks, also folks with different abilities, or English is not their first language, whatever it might be. And it's contributing to a workforce crisis across the country for the behavioral health care system. And so really looking to reform what that looks like. And a lot of people are just stuck on this idea of like, if you do not pass the exam, you do not get to be, a licensed social worker. And what we know was the exam is trivial. It's not objective. It's harmful. It's racist. It's all of these things. And if anybody thinks that an exam is what makes somebody ethical and competent, they have not met some of these people who have passed the exam. Because there are a lot of people out here.
That is the truth. Who
have passed these exams and they are trash. And so really looking to create some alternative pathways to licensure, which do not require passing the exam. What could look like, because people, when they hear this, they get shocked, like, oh my God, you have to take a test. No, it can look like increased supervision, because we know good supervision makes a quality therapist, social worker, counselor. Like that's really where it is. So just increasing the supervision and removing this exam as the only way to become a licensed clinical social worker. So that's the biggest thing I'm working on right now.
I agree. I love it.
Yeah.
So you talked about eliminating barriers to dreaming.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice? And what dreams do you have for your own work?
Yeah. So I love the ability to help people regain the hope that not was lost, but like just got clouded by life. Like life just be happening to people and it'll beat you down. And we'll see it time and time again, the way capitalism and patriarchy and white supremacy and all these things, they're really good at snatching dreams away from people. And so to be able to like walk along somebody and slowly see them like wake back up and reconnect with their dreams and like start to think about the future or just think about some of the wackiest stuff in the world, is something that brings me a tremendous amount of joy, especially in the work that I've done with Black youth for the last 10 plus years. Is if I think about anybody whose dreams be getting snatched away, it's a little Black child. Right? Like they just don't get the benefit of messing up again and again and again and again. They don't get the benefit of just dreaming and being silly and playful.
Yes.
And so being able to help Black youth specific, like get their dreams back by way of helping the adults in their lives learn to dream again.
Right.
Some of my, like, it's one of my favorite things to do. And so for me, like what that looks like in practice is really calling it to account, but also giving it new language and new meaning for people. They don't even know their dreams have been snatched from them. They think, oh no, like I'm very hopeful. The behaviors that I'm seeing, no, these are not the behaviors of somebody that wants to like live beyond like 20. Like these are just not, you know what I mean? And so just kind of calling it in to what I'm experiencing with people. And I love it. I love it.
I love that. I love when people have kind of like that aha moment for themselves where they can dream and open up.
Yeah.
Because that's everything.
It's so important.
That hope.
Imagination.
It creates hope. Yes.
Yes.
Creativity. You know.
We need it.
Yes,
like,
we
that's
do.
What's like, you don't have liberation without imagination. And so like you have to be able to imagine. The way people are like, everything's so bad, we need to reform these systems. What happened if we just imagine new ones and create those? Like we don't have to we don't have to make these work. These don't want to work for us, but we can imagine and create like new ways of doing things.
Yes. Oh, I love that. How would you define making progress? What does that mean for you? I always like to ask everyone as my guest that question.
It seems like when I hear it, what resonates immediately is like making progress for me is like gaining the freedom of time and choice. And so it isn't so much about like the doing or the output, but more or less an experience of like freedom and liberation, because then you get to decide like how you spend your time. And I think, you know, when we think about the demands of like work or the demands of like a job, or if you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, you feel like you have to, like you're just trapped by time. But that's true, and it's not, because we've often forgot that we have free will. And so when I think about making progress, I think about free will. I think about regaining the ability to dream. I think about the ability to just choose what works for you and choose what doesn't. And when it doesn't work for you, you know, you have other options. Yes. So like progress for me is also options and recognizing you can go do those things too. You don't have to keep doing something the same way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You don't have to keep doing things the same way.
You don't.
Yeah.
And I wish, like, I just want more Black women really to understand that. We don't have to keep doing stuff the same way.
We sure don't. And we don't have to define ourselves in anybody else's box of what they or how they think we should live or be.
Or about like what we do or don't. What we do or don't do. We just don't have to.
We don't have to. I love that.
Yeah.
How can our listeners follow your work?
Yep, I'm primarily on Instagram and Threads, so _Black_social worker. Folks can also tap into the podcast Revolutionary Hoodrat. I should be back on a regular cadence now. I had to get settled at my new job, so I should be back on a regular cadence with episodes. They drop every other Thursday, and then people can visit my website at dopeblacksocialworker.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, all of your wisdom, the laughter, all of it, your presence. Thank you so much, Kim.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Myra.